So what is the legislature? Legislature is a system that practiced by a democratic country, for example Malaysia, Canada, Norway, Bangladesh and Finland. It is also an organization that has the power to pass laws. In other words, they have the authority to make laws for political unit. However, not all democratic countries use the same legislature system. This depends on how country's constitution is formed. There is four main functions to legislatures. First is making law, second is administration, third is financial, and fourth is dissatisfaction management. Organization of the legislature varies from country to country, that is, either adopting the unicameral or the bicameral system. What is unicameral and bicameral? Unicameral has one legislative assembly, which used in Norway, Finland, and Denmark, while bicameral has two houses, and country that use this system is Malaysia and Britain. So what we want to touch here is bicameral system. In bicameral system, the composition of the upper and second house varies from country to country, where they are either nominated or elected directly or indirectly. The method adopted for the lower house in bicameral legislature in democratic system is almost uniform and simple, where the members are elected directly by the people. Also, this system has their advantages and disadvantages, which show in merits of bicameral.
The legislative body is the most significant pillar of government, since it is responsible for making laws in a country. Based on Article 44, the leader of Malaysia today is Al-Sultan Abdullah as the Yang di-Pertuan Agong and Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri as the Prime Minister. In House of Representatives, the members are referred to as Member of Parliament. They must be at least 21 years old and cannot be a member of Dewan Negara at the same time. Each member serves for a maximum of 5 years until a general election are held. The House of Representatives consisting of 222 members, and it's according to state allotted constituencies. Meanwhile, the presiding officer in House of Representatives is Tan Sri Azhar Azizan Harun. The House machinery are overseen by the clerk of the House, who is appointed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. Finally, the cabinet is solely accountable to the Dewan Rakyat, and the Prime Minister is only required to maintain support of the lower house only. Next, House of Senate. The members are referred to as Senate, and they must be at least 30 years old, and they must be Malaysian citizen and residing in the Federation, must not owe allegiance to any other state, must not have served 1 year or longer jail term, and must not have been fined 2,000 ringgit and over. Aside from that, the House of Senate has 70 senators, 26 of whom are chosen by state legislative assemblies, with 2 senators from each state. And the remaining 44 are appointed by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong on the recommendation of Prime Minister, with other 4 persons that are selected to represent each federal areas or territories. Other than that, each of the 13 state legislature selects 2 senators. Lastly, on the Prime Minister's suggestion, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong chooses 2 senators for the Federal Territory of Kuala Lumpur and 1 for the Federal Territories of Labuan and Putrajaya. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong also appoints another 40 senators, regardless of their states, also on the Prime Minister's suggestion. However, because the Prime Minister must be a member of the Dewan Rakyat, the Dewan Negara never supplies him.
The members of the legislative bodies, which are in unicameral system, and lower houses in the bicameral system are elected through two types, which are national election, pilihan raya umum, or by-elections, pilihan raya kecil. Furthermore, the Senate must select one of its members to be Yang di-Pertuan Dewan Negara, frequently referred as President of the Senate and Deputy President of the Senate on a continuous basis. If a member of the State Legislative Assembly is elected to be a president, he must retire from the assembly before going to take up his duties in Dewan Negara. Based on a recommendation from the State Legislative Assembly, this is to elect a member of the House of Dewan Negara as soon as reasonably practicable.
Termination refers to the process through which a person is disqualified from any house of the legislature. The person that can be disqualified from being a member of parliament are: first, he has been found or declared to be of unsound mind. Second, he is undischarged bankrupt. Third, he holds a profit-making office. Fourth, he has been nominated for election to either House of Parliament or the Legislative Assembly of a state. Fifth, he has failed to lodge any return of election expenses required by law within the time required. Sixth, he has been convicted of an offence by a court of law in the Federation and sentenced to imprisonment not less than 1 year or a fine of 2,000 ringgit and has not received a free pardon. The last one is he has voluntarily acquired citizenship of any country outside the Federation.
In the political atmosphere, the issue of female representation seems not encouraging, and it reflects the biases of male control and dominance in Malaysian politics. It can be seen through the 13th general elections in 2004 conducted into the parliamentary and state assembly seats, whereby women only got 80 seats out of 727 available positions that usually represent 11%. By implication, this number is still considered lower 30% to the Committee on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women target. However, the 12th general elections reflects an improvement of female contestants for parliamentary and state seats. Chong Eng, Penang state lawmaker, urged to establish 30% of quota for female representation in Malaysian politics due to the dilemma of women underrepresentativeness. Having a fact of Indonesia that has reached 30% women involvement in the political decision-making of the government finally leads to the agitation for affirmative agenda. In terms of political empowerment, Malaysia is found as one of the countries that has the widest gap, while in terms of political gender inequality rank, Malaysia is placed 107th out of 142 countries. The next issue is corruption. Corruption has always been a significant issue to be discussed in the constitutional political process and a target of government intervention in various countries. Whether there are changes in the democratic system, a revolutionary country, or a constitutional monarchy, corruption is commonly a dominant topic. The effects arise in various parts of the world through almost each political activity of government power consists of political means and undemocratic process like revolutions and coups. Corruption is used as one of basic political tools due to some factors like for weakening and destroying a political opponent to fulfill personal desires. Corruption also becomes a tragic issue in Malaysia following the reform movements in 1997 and 1998, especially after Malaysia has experienced an economic downturn in 1997. The effects of this downturn include a collapse in the stock market, unstable currencies, and also record bankruptcies. Thus, the International Monetary Fund took initiative to provide rescue measures, and this leads to the dark misuse of power and corruption. Therefore, amendments of the Prevention of Corruption Act 1961 are passed by Malaysia to get the Prevention of Corruption Act 1997. Legislation and enforcement policies also play main role to prevent corruption in Malaysia through taking preventive approach. The anti-corruption was stipulated as a national standard of ethics, alongside with the laying out strategic measures to ensure government administration can be improved.
In conclusion, the Cabinet is the executive body that plays a very important role. It is headed by a Prime Minister. The Cabinet also is Council of Ministers accountable to Parliament. Not only that, Prime Minister have important role which being an advisor to YDPA, naming cabinet lists, coordinating and making decision on all government policies, being a spokesperson in international and domestic affairs, and lastly applying to the YDPA to dissolve Parliament when it expires. Lastly, leadership of an appointed person depends on the personal characteristic or trait he possesses. The administration of the country needs to be run smoothly so that the country becomes more developed and no citizens are in poverty.